Please don't leave me here, she whispered, her voice breaking against the sound of dripping water. The old subway tunnel breathed cold air through the cracked tiles as rain from the streets above trickled down the walls. It was past midnight. The fluorescent lights flickered like dying stars, casting the abandoned platform in pale, sickly hues. Claire Whitmore stood near the edge, clutching her phone in one shaking hand. The text from her assistant, "Meet me at the old Fulton stop. No one can know," was still open on her screen. "Evan," she called out softly. A shuffle echoed from the shadows. Two men emerged from behind a rusted column, both in dark hoodies, faces hidden. One carried a manila folder. "You Claire Whitmore?" the taller one asked. She swallowed hard. "Where's Evan?" "He's not coming," the shorter man said flatly. "This is just business. Sign these." The folder was thrust into her hands. Pages of corporate memos, authorization letters, until her eyes froze on one line. Internal asset transfer approval. It was a laundering scheme in her name. "I'm not signing this," she said, backing away. "You will." The tall man stepped forward. "Or we'll make sure no one ever asks about you again." Her back hit the cold tile wall. Her breath came fast. "Please," she stammered. "I don't want trouble." The shorter one's voice softened. "Neither do we. Just sign and walk away." Her hands trembled. The folder slipped from her grasp. "Help," she whispered to no one. "Please don't leave me here alone." A quiet voice came from the dark. "Let her go." The men froze. From the far end of the platform, slow footsteps approached. A man stepped into the light, broad-shouldered, grease-stained work jacket, boots wet from rain. He set down a metal toolbox that rolled to a stop beside him. His expression was calm but unyielding. The tall man straightened. "Who the hell are you?" The stranger said nothing. He simply looked at them. Something in his stillness made both men hesitate. "Forget it," the shorter one muttered. "Let's go." "Coward," the other spat, but followed. They vanished into the shadows, their footsteps fading into the tunnels. Claire stood trembling, heart hammering. The man crouched, picked up the folder, and held it out. "You okay?" he asked quietly. Her lips quivered. "Please don't leave me here alone." He looked at her, really looked, and then placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "I won't," he said. "Not until you're safe." They sat together on the cold bench in silence. He didn't ask who she was or why she'd come. He simply stayed. The sound of distant trains echoed like ghosts in the dark. When she finally stood, her knees unsteady, she said, "My car's 2 blocks away. I'll be fine." He rose too. "You sure?" She nodded. "Yeah." He walked her to the exit without another word, toolbox wheels clicking softly on the concrete. Outside, her car waited under a flickering streetlight. "I never got your name," she said. "Jack Monroe," he replied. "I'm Claire." He nodded. "Drive safe, Claire." She got in and drove away, her reflection pale in the window, the city's mist curling around the headlights. Jack stood until her car disappeared, then turned toward the long road home. The sun was barely up when Jack parked his van outside a modest brick apartment in Queens. He locked his toolbox in the back and climbed the stairs. Inside, a hand-painted banner hung across the hallway. "Welcome home, Daddy." "Morning, Daddy," called a small voice. Lily sat on the floor in her pajamas, glue bottle in hand, building a robot from cardboard and bottle caps. Jack crouched beside her. "That looks like a serious upgrade." "She's gonna have arms now," Lily said proudly. "Strong ones. Like Mom's." He smiled softly. "Yeah, just like Mom's." The air still carried the faint scent of lavender, Sarah's favorite. Her scarf still hung by the door. 3 years had passed since the fire. 3 years since he'd tried to reach her through smoke so thick it choked the sky. He'd left the fire department after that. Started fixing air systems instead. It paid less, but it was quiet. It let him be home for Lily. That afternoon, in her glass-walled office overlooking Manhattan, Claire sat motionless at her desk. The folder from the subway lay unopened beside her laptop. She hadn't told anyone. But she couldn't stop thinking about the man in the tunnel, the calm in his voice, the sadness in his eyes. Curiosity, or guilt, pushed her to search his name. It didn't take long. Jack Monroe, HVAC technician, former firefighter. His photo stared back at her. Uniformed, younger, steady. Then she found the report. A safety notice he'd filed 6 months before the Parkview Tower fire. The same building her company once managed. The report had warned of faulty wiring, overloaded circuits, ignored, dismissed, No action required. Her stomach twisted. The fire that killed his wife. The building her corporation had been responsible for maintaining. By dusk, Claire stood before a weathered apartment door in Queens, folder in hand. She hesitated, then pressed the buzzer labeled Monroe J. The door opened. Jack stood there in a faded gray t-shirt, a dish towel draped over his shoulder. For a long moment, neither spoke. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," she said softly. He looked at her, eyes unreadable. Then, without a word, he stepped aside, leaving the doorway open. The silence between them stretched, taut and fragile. Then Jack stepped aside. The apartment was small but warm, lived in, with the faint hum of laughter drifting from the back room. A child's voice sang softly to herself. Claire stepped inside, her soaked heels leaving faint prints on the welcome mat. The smell of coffee and rain hung in the air. "I didn't know," she said quietly, eyes down. "About the fire. Or the report. I saw it today. Your name was on it." Jack's jaw tightened. He looked at his hands, rough and calloused. "I thought if I filed it, someone would care enough to fix it." "I wasn't there yet," she whispered. "I know." For a long time, neither spoke. Then Jack's voice came, low and tired. "People always show up when it's too late. They patch walls, repaint the burns, pretend the wreckage doesn't still smell like smoke. But the real blame, it's on the ones who built it wrong and walked away." Claire swallowed hard. "You deserved better." He didn't respond. From the hallway, a small voice piped up. "Daddy, is she staying for dinner?" Lily peeked around the corner, curls wild, eyes bright. Jack glanced at Claire, then shook his head gently. "Not tonight, sweetheart." "Okay." Lily disappeared again, humming. "She's beautiful," Claire said softly. Jack's voice softened. "She's my whole world." Claire nodded, clutching her purse like it was armor. "You saved me last night." "You didn't have to." Jack shrugged. Felt like the right thing to do. They stood in silence for a while, the city noise faint through the window. Then Claire said, "Maybe I can't undo the past, but I want to understand it. Fix what I can." Jack didn't answer, but he didn't ask her to leave either. 3 days later, she came back. Morning sunlight stretched down the street, catching on her tan wool coat and navy suit. A paper bag was tucked under her arm. When she stepped out of the car, the neighborhood slowed. An old man paused mid-conversation. 2 kids stopped dribbling a basketball. The polished woman didn't belong here, not among cracked sidewalks and weathered porches. But Claire didn't notice. She just climbed the stairs and pressed the buzzer marked Monroe J. The door opened almost instantly. Jack stood there with a coffee mug in one hand. "You again?" She lifted the bag. "I brought muffins." His brow furrowed, but after a moment, he stepped aside. "All right then." The apartment looked the same. Cozy chaos, mismatched furniture, the faint scent of cinnamon. On the table sat a half-finished cardboard robot, arms made of plastic spoons. "Is that the lady from before?" Lily called from the hall. "Hi, Lily," Claire said with a smile. The little girl beamed and held out something small. "I made this for you." It was a toy robot, spoon body, twist-tie arms, marker letters across its chest. "Be brave, even when you're small." Claire stared at it. Something inside her cracked open. Her throat burned as tears filled her eyes. "I feel smaller than I've ever been," she whispered. Lily tilted her head. "That's okay. Brave people feel small sometimes." Claire laughed softly through her tears. "You're wiser than most people I work with." Jack handed her a tissue without a word. Later, they sat at the table, the muffins between them. Jack flipped through the folder Claire had brought, the same one from that night underground. His brow furrowed. "This isn't shady," he said. "It's criminal. Offshore accounts, shell companies. Someone's been setting this up for years." "I think they used me," Claire admitted. "Thought I'd clean up their mess and stay quiet." He looked up at her. "You don't seem quiet." "I used to be." Jack set the folder down, rubbed a hand across his face. "I could use someone like you," Claire said softly. "Someone who knows what's real. What loss costs." "I don't want to go back there," he said. She frowned. "Where?" "To that world. The one that buried my wife under lies and paperwork. I made peace with the wreckage, Claire. I can't rebuild the system that killed her." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. "I understand." For a moment, neither spoke. Then one of her heels wobbled. She looked down, cracked clean through. "Of course," she muttered. Jack stood. "Take it off." "What?" "Your shoe. I'll fix it." Before she could protest, he was already rummaging through a red toolbox. 2 minutes later, Claire sat barefoot at his kitchen table while Jack worked quietly, fitting a tiny screw into the heel. "Most expensive surgery I've ever done," he said. She laughed, startled by how natural it felt. "I haven't done that in weeks." He glanced up. "Maybe your shoe's not the only thing that needed fixing." When she left, the repaired heel clicked softly against the floor, uneven but steady. She turned at the doorway, robot still in hand. "Thanks, Jack." "You're welcome, Claire." And for the first time, it didn't feel like two separate worlds colliding. It felt like a bridge being quietly built between them. The next evening, she came back again, this time with groceries and a worn-out book tucked under her arm. Her hair was pulled into a messy ponytail. She looked less like a CEO, more like someone learning how to breathe again. Lily squealed when she opened the door. "Are you here for story time or spaghetti?" "Both," Claire said, grinning. "Though you might regret the second one." Jack raised an eyebrow but didn't object. She cooked clumsily, nearly cutting her finger on the onion while Lily demonstrated the right way. Jack chuckled from the counter. "At this rate, we're going to need the fire extinguisher." They didn't. The noodles were overdone, the sauce too thick, the garlic bread singed on one side. Still, they ate together, laughter soft under the hum of the kitchen light. Lily lit a tea-light candle in the center of the table. "Fancy dinners need candles," she declared. Claire toasted her plastic cup of apple juice. "To bravery, even when you're small." After dinner, she read Lily a story about a girl who built a rocket out of junkyard scraps. The child leaned against her shoulder halfway through, eyes drooping. Jack watched from the doorway, arms folded, something gentle in his expression. Later, when Lily was asleep, Claire lingered in the kitchen. "Thank you," she said softly, "for tonight. For letting me be here." "You don't need to thank me for being decent," Jack said. "I do," she replied. "Decency's rare where I come from." He rinsed a plate, silent. "I found out who it was," she said finally. "Evan. My assistant. He set me up. I trusted him with everything. My passwords, my schedule, my faith, and he sold it." Jack turned off the water. His eyes were steady, not surprised. "It's not just betrayal," Claire whispered. "It's loneliness. It makes you question everyone." Jack reached into a drawer and took out a small folded handkerchief. Floral embroidery on one corner, faint scent of lavender. "Sarah used to keep this in her pocket," he said quietly. "Said it made her feel like she carried spring with her." Claire took it gently. "It still smells like her." He nodded once. "I don't know who I am anymore," she admitted, voice trembling. "Outside of boardrooms and press releases." "Then maybe," Jack said, leaning back against the counter, "you get to find out." She sat down, clutching the handkerchief like something alive. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel like she needed to earn her place in the room. She just was. When Claire hit send on the email to the Financial Crimes Division, her hands shook. Attached were enough documents to ruin powerful people and her own career. Within hours, the storm began. Her corporate ID was revoked, her accounts frozen, her name trending for all the wrong reasons. CEO or traitor. The headlines screamed. Cameras crowded outside her building. In 72 hours, everything she'd built was gone, except one suitcase, a cracked pair of heels, and the lavender-scented handkerchief in her coat pocket. By nightfall, she stood on the same cracked Queens sidewalk, rain soaking her hair. She knocked once. Jack opened the door. His forearm was smudged with grease, his expression unreadable. He looked at her, trembling, exhausted, mascara streaked, and didn't ask a single question. Instead, he held out a pair of worn slippers. "Come in," he said quietly. "Shoes off first." Lily just cleaned. And just like that, she stepped out of the storm and into the light. She stepped inside quietly. The apartment smelled like cinnamon and something baking. Lily's voice drifted from the back room, humming a tune as she arranged her little robot parts on the floor. Claire placed her small overnight bag near the door, her movements careful, almost apologetic. Jack motioned toward the couch. "Sit. I'll make you some tea." She nodded, sinking into the cushions like someone who hadn't rested in years. Her hands were trembling, her eyes hollow from sleepless nights. "I didn't think you'd open the door," she whispered after a long silence. Jack glanced over from the kitchen. "You think I'd leave you standing out there?" "I have nothing left," she said softly, her voice cracking. "No title, no money, no name that matters." He set a mug in front of her, steam curling from the top. "You still have your backbone. That's worth more than all of it." She gave a weak smile. I don't know if I was brave or just foolish. Both, he said with a shrug. But you did what was right. That counts. Claire looked up at him, her eyes brimming. Everyone walked away. I didn't. She gave a fragile laugh. Why? Jack met her gaze. Because you told the truth when everyone else kept quiet. And because if Lily found out I turned you away, I'd never hear the end of it. From the other room, Lily called out, Is it story night? Claire laughed softly, wiping her eyes. Might be. For the first time in months, she didn't feel like a failure or a headline. She felt human, seen, safe. Not because of her old title, but because someone saw her worth beneath all the wreckage and opened the door anyway. At 3:42 a.m., her phone buzzed. No sender, no subject line. Just one line of text. Backup copy. Storage server B17. East Branch facility. Claire sat up, heart pounding. That location wasn't on any of the current blueprints, but she remembered it. An old satellite office, supposedly shut down years ago. She turned to Jack, who sat by the window sipping coffee, eyes heavy but awake. If you were me, she asked, would you go back? He studied her. If you don't, you'll always wonder what you missed. The East Branch sat at the edge of an industrial block, its faded logo half buried under grime. Most lights inside flickered weakly. Claire typed her old access code. It still worked. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with dust. They found the server under a torn tarp in a corner. Jack crouched beside it, frowning. It's barely alive. If I bypass the failsafe, we've got 5 minutes, maybe 10. Then let's make them count. Claire plugged in her portable drive. The progress bar crawled forward. 32%, 56%, 91%. Done. Then came the beep. Red light flashing. Jack's expression hardened. Silent alarm. A door slammed behind them. Claire spun around. Jonah, her former assistant, the one who'd betrayed her. He stood beside a man in corporate security uniform. Claire, Jonah said evenly, hand it over. Walk away. You'll stay out of prison, and this ends tonight. You lied, she said. You tried to destroy me. I was protecting the company. Protecting you. You were protecting yourself, she snapped. Jack stepped forward, shielding her. She's not giving you anything. Jonah sneered. And who are you? Her bodyguard. Someone who's seen enough people burned by lies. Jack's tone was calm, deadly steady. What she's holding isn't theft, it's the truth. And I'll swear to that in court. The guard hesitated, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Then, a crack above them. A hiss. Jack's head snapped up. Get back. Sparks burst from the ventilation grid. Flames licked across the ceiling. Smoke rolled down in waves. Go. Jack shouted. Jonah bolted for the door. The guard followed. Claire didn't move. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps. The smoke. The heat. The screaming. She was back there again. The fire. Sarah's voice. The chaos. Claire. Jack's voice cut through it. I can't, she choked. I can't do this. Look at me. His hand reached through the haze. I've got you. She stumbled, nearly collapsing. He caught her, held her close, guided her through the smoke. Please, she whispered, don't leave me here alone. He held her tighter. I didn't before, he said. I won't now. Not ever. They burst through the exit just as the sprinklers roared to life. Outside, rain fell in soft sheets. Claire doubled over, coughing. In her shaking hand, she still clutched the drive. Days later, the evidence was in the hands of federal investigators. The findings were irrefutable: embezzlement, cover-ups, board-level fraud. Claire's name was cleared, her reputation restored. But she didn't return to the corner office. That night, back at Jack's apartment, she sat wrapped in a blanket on the floor while Lily offered her a mug of hot cocoa. Daddy only makes this for people he really cares about, Lily said matter-of-factly. Claire smiled through tears. Then I guess I'm lucky. Lily grinned and held up her latest creation, a small gray robot holding a cardboard shield. This one's for you, she said. He protects people who tell the truth. Claire laughed softly. He's perfect. The apartment was small, but it was filled with something she hadn't felt in years: peace. A few months later, Claire opened a modest office above a bakery in Queens. A new start. A new mission. The Renewal Initiative, a nonprofit for whistleblowers, people who'd lost everything for doing the right thing. Jack came by a few times a week to help with safety compliance and logistics. Lily often joined, building robots out of paper clips and soda cans in the corner while Claire typed reports. One rainy afternoon, Lily approached her desk holding a new robot. This one showed 3 figures standing under a paper roof, 2 tall, 1 small in the middle, all smiling. Claire's heart softened. Is this us? Lily nodded. That's me, Daddy, and you. Claire blinked. And who do you think I am, sweetheart? Lily tilted her head. You're home. Maybe not yet, but soon. Claire's throat tightened. She couldn't speak. Lily just smiled and went back to her work, humming softly. Later, Claire found Jack fixing the vent on the roof. She stood beside him, the city glowing gold beneath the sunset. She said, I'm home. Claire whispered. Not now, but soon. Jack smiled faintly. She doesn't say things unless she means them. Claire laughed under her breath. I didn't know how much I needed to hear that. He handed her a wrench. Kids have a way of reminding us what matters. Home isn't where you start. It's where you're safe. She looked at him. Do I make you feel safe? Jack smirked. Let's just say I stopped locking my door on the nights you visit. They laughed quietly. It wasn't dramatic or cinematic, just real. Earned. That night, Claire placed Lily's robot on her desk and wrote one word underneath it. Soon. A year later, the small apartment buzzed with life. Warm light spilled through open windows. The scent of lavender drifted in from the balcony where Claire had planted 3 pots, her quiet tribute to Sarah. Jack never said it, but every evening he paused beside them, fingers brushing the leaves, a ghost of a smile on his lips. Claire never tried to replace Sarah, just to belong to something honest. The renewal initiative had grown. 3 offices across the city, dozens of success stories. Claire didn't chase headlines anymore. She was too busy living one. Graduation day came for their first class of trainees, 30 men and women who had found second chances. The hall was full of laughter, mismatched chairs, and proud families. When the ceremony ended, Lily walked up on stage with a bouquet of lavender and daisies. For you, she said, handing it to Claire. Thank you, sweetheart. Lily leaned in and whispered, now you smell like us, too. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Claire blinked back tears. Afterward, as the lights dimmed, Lily tugged her sleeve. Can I ask you something? Of course. Lily looked up with calm certainty. What do you think you are to me now? Claire's heart stuttered. I hope someone important. Lily shook her head, then wrapped her arms tight around her waist. You're my new mom, she said simply. You didn't have to, but you stayed. That counts. Claire hugged her close, her voice trembling. Thank you for choosing me. I didn't choose, Lily said, smiling against her. We just found each other. Jack joined them then, hands in his pockets, quiet pride in his eyes. She said it, huh? Claire turned toward him, still holding the bouquet. She did. He smiled softly. Then I guess it's official. Claire took his hand, squeezing it. One day at a time. One day at a time, he agreed. And that was enough. No rings, no headlines, no promises carved in stone, just this. A home built not from perfection, but from people who stayed. And finally, it was hers.